Alright guys, so just to let you know, I have two PowerPoints. I tried to come up with a new one which didn't really work out that well because the other one is just like my past experiences with my past exhibitions and I just add on to it. But my project is focused, my community-based project is focused on health disparities in the inner cities or in the urban communities. So this semester, Nick Longo's class was awesome. We learned about asset-based community development, social capital, how, building social capital, build on your strengths rather than your weaknesses, know your assets, building relationships, and understanding with those that don't see eye to eye. And the reason why I focused on that is because this semester, I realized that not everybody's gonna have the same vision as I do. They're not gonna have the same passion that I do. Because this is my community, this is where I grew up. I know the hardship that we have to go, I lived it firsthand. So when I work with city and state offices and they're just kind of like, they brush us off. And I work for the #1 insurance company for the state, which is Neighborhood Health Plan of Rhode Island. I case manage there, and the population that we focus on is urban communities, low socioeconomic status. And a lot of people that I work with, it's really hard to kind of, first of all, they refer to our members as they and those people, and me being a person of color, that's a little, offensive. But again, it's the world that we're living in right now, so you just kind of have to rise above it. The public narrative, story of self, story of us, and story of now. And the story of self is my story, my experiences, and how your story of self connects with your project. Your story of us is how your experience can relate to others, or how relatable it can be. And now is what are we doing about it? Getting people to contribute, action, a concrete plan. Again, this is just like things that I learned, how does healthcare and education affect one's quality of life? To me, in my research, education and healthcare work hand in hand. The lack of education early on in one's life can determine their, health in the long run. A lot of people don't put those two together, Addressing structural problems, institutionalized racism, discrimination, my goal would be is to provide inner cities with quality care, provide patients with providers that are culturally sensitive, okay? Promote more people of color to get in positions, being nurses, why don't we have that? It's just like teachers. Like, how can a student of color identify with a teacher that has not walked the same, have not had the same life experiences than that child? So how can you relate to that child as an educator? In the same sense, how can a provider identify with their patient that has so many cultural differences, but they don't understand that, So there is a lack of cultural competence and education to providers and educators. And why is there a permanent lower class? A lot of people don't look at it, but there is. There needs to be a lower class, a middle class, and then, all of the above. In bridging capital. So, let me see what that is. So I'm back to square one. In my other slide, I'm gonna show you in my other PowerPoint, I was working on a project, a really, really big project here on the south side, where we were looking to secure a really, really big building. It's actually the old Toby Recycling. It's humongous. We were gonna turn it into a community hub, have different kinds of education, credit, you know, how are you gonna buy a home? Just overall education for this community that there's such, you know, like, I can't even get into that because then I'll just be talking for 5 hours. So, mission, promote culturally sensitive health advances to reduce chronic illnesses in urban communities. My vision, our goal is to achieve health equity in low-income communities through education and promoting self-advocacy. I feel self-advocacy is like, to me, it's like we don't advocate. When I say we, inner city communities, they just conform, okay? Oh, well, I'm not getting this. Well, there's nothing I can do. No, advocate for yourself. Advocate for your family, for your health, your longevity. Like, this is your life, you know? Like, they don't see the importance. You know, the language barriers, like this just, it's a lot that contributes, but value social justice, act with empathy and respect, embrace diversity and change, encourage growth within communities, advocate for ethical, equitable healthcare. So, health disparities in low-income communities with the focus on nutrition. I'm looking to focus on nutrition first because it's just a lot that you would have to cover with health disparities, obviously. I think promoting more visual education, you know, you get all these pamphlets with so much information. I'm like, let's make it more visual. 1, 2, 3, you know, like, let's not make it with so much information that they're gonna get overwhelmed with and not read. People I'm connecting with, I actually have more people now, but I have James, he's a coordinator with the Department of Health. I'm working with a couple of people from the Department of Health. Kenneth Jones, he's the state police sergeant. I think it's important to educate our community, our youth, of their rights, of what is right and wrong when you are pulled over, when a cop is interrogating you, what are your rights? You don't need to do everything they're saying because they will take advantage, you know? So, Taisha Neves she's a community partnership coordinator. She's with Brown University. So I'm looking to kind of get a little, just network a little more and work with all walks of lives. You know, I'm working with the, what is it? Domestic violence.
Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Yeah, I'm working with the homeless. I'm working with like SAG, BIF, Dr. Kita's at Brown University. Elisol, he's just like a community leader, you know, because I want to stay grounded. I don't want to, you know, interact too much with people that our community won't be able to feel comfortable with. I have Dare, Dr. Danny, she's also at Brown, and Eduleaders of Color is my sister's organization, which I'm very proud of, and she focuses on the education portion, so I think it'll be awesome if we can work together, her focusing on education and me focusing on the healthcare aspect. We're gonna skip all this. This is how I feel. You know, you have 7 days and, you know, actually I've been feeling a little better. I'm kind of just rolling with the, you know, punches and get knocked out, get back up. I noticed that, you know, the semester gonna keep coming, so stop stressing yourself out and just try to get the help and keep it moving. Yeah, ice cream is a must. How do you guys feel? And if Brittany can get through it, I can get through the solo program. Okay? All right, so like I said, Nick's class was awesome. I think that it was crucial, like for where I am right now, it's something that I needed to learn how to network a little more, you know, work smarter, not harder. So this was the building that we were looking to purchase, and I won't lie, I'm like really sad about it because I had so much like invested in this project, but lesson learned. The connections that I was able to gain through this process is awesome. Like, they're gonna stay with me throughout the process. I need to learn the grant process a little more because it's not as easy as it seems, you know? It's always great to work with an established organization, you know, work under them in their, like they can be your fiscal sponsor for the beginning. I think that's something that a lot of people don't really think about in the when they're rolling out their nonprofits. Let's see. There's just a lot of stuff here. These are just statistics, sorry, that I think that a lot of us kind of overlook, you know. I have this on my Digication, and I think it's really good for us to educate ourselves, especially, you know, when we, you know, people that aren't of color, they don't understand, and it's like that's what I want to do. So, in essence, my new focus is I want to create a training at my job that will focus on cultural competence and how to deal with our population and just cultural things. You know, Spanish, they offer you food, there's a way you say no to it. It's just simple things like that. You know, you have the Asian community, you take your shoes off. Like, it's just little things like that. And don't call your coworker and say, hey, can you come to this street with me because it's really dangerous because I live 2 streets over from that street that you're scared to go to. So do you get what I'm saying? So let's be a little more all right, it's a lot. And I think I'm gonna, you know, like I said, there's a lot. I like to educate. I like for people just to be mindful. So I'm just gonna leave it there. If you guys have any feedback, any questions for me, I know it's a lot. It's a lot of it's up in the air. I know that I want to focus obviously on health disparities. I want to work with the educators as well as the you know, providers, but it's still it's ever changes, and I think it's gonna always be that way. It's never gonna be, all right, this is what I'm focusing on. So if you guys have any feedback.
And I always think when people are presenting, you should have either your computer or pencil and paper so that if any of us have brilliant ideas, you can remember them. And you're about to hear a couple brilliant ideas.
You're actually being recorded, so
okay.
Perfect.
Will we look at it? So there's a great radical doctor in town by the name of Michael Fine, who doesn't believe in the health insurance. He lives in Scituate, but he does a lot of supported work here, but trying to develop communities' own health care so they don't get ripped off. And he's a friend, and he ran the health, he was head of health for the state, head of health for the prison, and now he's doing the health center in Central Falls. So I will set you up with him. Yes. The other thing is, there's a woman, I don't know if she's still doing it, but her passion is to try to get people to eat differently, to eat from the ground, vegan more like, and has made connections where she's pulled groups together, you know, and gotten free food and gotten people, and maybe there's a connection. We're trying to do it in one of the schools with this guy Brandon, so I'll connect you to that, if that's of interest.
Of course.
You come back and tell me.
Yeah, I'm open to anything. There's a lot more here, but I just think it's like.
Okay, and the third thing, and I'll stop, is that we have a lawyer friend, Costi Cavalis, that goes around and gives workshops on what happens when you get stopped by a cop, and what are your rights. So he does that in schools if you want access to him.
Yeah, because the sergeant does it once a month.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, once like a year.
Yeah.
I was like,
so this guy could do them for you, and he's very good. So
yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, they'll
You got all that, Lily?
I did.
I did hear about Dr. Fine.
And I think always, Vanessa,
Yes.
you're so passionate about your stuff, and it was the same thing when we were talking about your giant project. I think for your own mental health, you got to get small and really say, this is what I'm going to do, and when I graduate, I'm going to have this done, and then I'll move on. But you need those steps because it's so big, and it's because you're so passionate, you want to do everything, but then it gets frustrating, you know? So I think you got to say, this next semester, I'm just gonna work on this, or I'm
Yeah,
just
I'm
gonna
there.
work-
That's why, like, I'm just like, yeah, all these slides, like, who cares? But, you know, it's cause that's like how my brain works, but I'm, you know,